public comment at the end.
Perfect. Next up is our land acknowledgement. Make sure my screen's big enough. So all Spokane Public Library buildings sit on the traditional homelands of the 4 bands of the Spokane Tribe of Indians: Upper Band, Middle Band, Lower Band, Chewelah Band. Since time immemorial, the Spokane Tribe of Indians has lived and cared for these grounds, identifying themselves as flesh of the earth. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. We show gratitude to the land, river, and peoples who have been fishing, hunting, harvesting, and gathering here for generations. May we learn from one another's stories so that we may nurture the relationship of the people of the Spokane tribe and to all those who share this land. Okay, next up on the agenda, are there any proposed adoption or changes to this agenda?
No.
Right. Okay, looking for approval of the September 22 board minutes.
I move that we approve the September 22 board minutes.
So moved. Is there a second? Second, great. All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
that's passed. And now approval of the September 22 bills and contributions in the amount of $1,919,745.19.
I move that we approve those funds.
So moved. A second.
Okay.
Sorry, Jim, did you second that?
I did. Yes.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's passed. And then Nicole Edwards for our financial report.
Thank you, Casey. Okay, so to start for the library operations for September 2022. So at September close, we're able to cover 160 days of 68 days, excuse me, of our operating costs. Cash and investments balance is currently at $5,994,420, which does include our reserve for capital and is net of our encumbered funds of $263,643. For our expenditure trend, September operating expenditures totaled $745,415. To date, our costs are about $337,000 more compared to 2021 year to date. September personnel costs totaled $558,514. Capital books and materials were $54,229. Security services were $29,838. Interfund charges totaled $86.34, and our utility costs were $12,880. And for business office news, currently we're working with our insurance agent, Tom Blue, with Hubin International to renew our insurance policies for 2023. After quotes and coverage options are analyzed, we will present the recommended coverage for the to the board for approval. And just as a reminder, we haven't seen budget in a while. The estimated budget line that we did adopt for next year is $110,500. So more to come on that. I'd like to open now for any questions before we move on to pending with the bond.
Nicole, is that's 337,000 cumulative over the course of the year?
Correct.
Okay.
Year to date more. Yeah.
And then is there any specific area that's leading to increased costs specifically, or?
No, it's really technically all over the board. We have had pay periods are a little bit structured a little bit differently this year.
Okay.
But no.
Okay.
Any other questions for Nicole?
Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. Okay, the next agenda item is bond construction project update. Hill
Okay,
International.
I'll start out with that, Casey, and then Lorraine will follow in behind me. So first off, we did not have any contracts executed under the special threshold. But what I do want to report on tonight, and Lorraine's going to expand on this from the construction perspective, but we are seeing some unforeseen costs at Indian Trail and South Hill. And some of the most significant costs I've listed in the bullets in the lower part of my report. And these include at South Hill, a hydronic piping problem, very significant in dollar amount, $190,000 is the current estimate. That's a pre-tax estimate. Also, the addition of an exterior book drop, that's in design, so we don't have cost estimates in on that yet. At Indian Trail, we have some modified supports for the wood ceiling at about $45,000. And after I wrote this report, we've learned of another $70,000 at Indian Trail and South Hill, both for, so that's a combined amount for some door issues. I've also got listed a couple things that we learned after opening phase 1 branches. I think I've mentioned this one before, where the server and AV technology rooms are overheating. They weren't designed for the amount of technology that we have in those closets. So we're having to come back through on phase 1 and install a mini split system. And we're also upgrading the audio visual systems, which weren't quite meeting our needs. So you'll see those two items now also at Indian Trail and South Hill, because we recognize we have that across the board problem. And we're able to accommodate that work through the Meridian contract. So what does this mean? What this means is that we're cutting deep into our contingency. I expect that we'll have enough within the overall site budgets to absorb these, but we have a not to exceed threshold that the board set when we awarded the contract. So I look to come back to the board in November to raise that ceiling up once we are better equipped with the additional costs. I'm also I expect that also to happen on the Walker contract, given some additions that we've had there as well. But again, it's not that we lack the funding, but I need to raise the board authority to cover these costs within the contracts. Now, these also, the South Hill and Indian Trail issues have delayed the projects. And that has a cascading effect on our service providers. For example, Group 4 has had additional design costs. We did have a credit in that contract, so I've been able to absorb those additions in the Group 4 contract without having for us to have any more out of pocket. Now, in the case of Hill, we do have an amendment on the agenda tonight that this has directly affected their work with us. But again, I just want to emphasize the fact that financially, we're continuing to move along. And when I come back to you in November, I should be able to give you a better understanding of what these costs are and what that would mean to raising our ceiling. So I'm open for questions. And if you don't have any for me, Lorraine will step in and explain further about these issues.
Any questions for Penny?
Yeah, Penny, you say we still have enough in the contingency fund, but how close are we to exhausting the contingency fund?
Yeah, we are, let me get my notes here. I am after these additions, I am seeing about 122,000 left. That's pre-tax at Indian Trail, and 38,000 at South Hill. So I do have some other budget lines within the site budgets that I can shift around. We're far enough now in the projects where, you know, we put placeholders in for such things as consulting services and or other construction costs. So now we're at the point where if those won't likely be realized, and I can start to pull from those line items. So this is not meant to scare you, but it's definitely meant to make you aware of some things that were unforeseen and that we're facing as a part of the renovation process.
You have a question? Penny, the problem with heating and cooling AV rooms, when the designs were being done, were there any specifications given to the designers about the amount and type of equipment that was going to be in there?
That question was definitely asked, Mary, and Lorraine may want to expand on this, but MW engineers and Integris did that design work, and they designed those closets based on what is typical. And we load our closets with, I guess, atypical amounts is what I'm being told. And Lorraine, feel free to comment, please, if you have something to say.
Well, the other thing that ties into this is, we all know technology is advancing. There's more features. Now we're doing Zoom meetings for board meetings. There's more technology, more features, so there's more equipment. So yes, there was assumptions made, but and maybe they were low when they were made, but as technology increases, we're just, the library is getting state-of-the-art technology, but that's coming with more equipment than I think was originally planned for, and therefore, the IT closets have more things in them and need more cooling.
Thank you.
Penny, what about the addition of an exterior book drop at South Hill? Didn't we have a book drop? Why is that an addition?
So with the original site designs, we thought we could rely on the automated returns.
Mhm.
When we opened up Liberty Park, it quickly became really an issue of accessibility for folks that physically might not be able to make the tour.
Oh, okay.
So we're making that accommodation at Liberty Park and also at South Hill. So right now we're working on the location of where that book drop would be.
Mhm.
As you know from experience, that parking lot is less than adequate. So that in itself presents a challenge, but we want to be able to accommodate the public. And this is what we're moving forward with.
Will this just be just like the old book drops where you just drop a book in, or will it be an automated?
It'd be it wouldn't be a smart one.
Okay.
It would just be a old standard.
Okay.
Drop it in. We'd still like to encourage the public to use the automated as much as possible because it does cut back on our efforts. But
And you're adding one at Liberty Park as well.
yes, we needed to go through park board approval for that, which we got last week. Thanks to Harris.
Okay. How big are they? I mean, there was one at South Hill. Is that gone now?
Yeah, that's been demolished. The way that people had to access it is they had to drive down they had to approach it going the wrong way.
Right.
And it caused a lot of traffic
Yeah.
issues. So we demolished that. And then like I said, we're looking at that final site. Okay. Do you have an idea of how big they are? Harris?
They're smaller in profile than the bigger little mini hut style things that we had. But I want to say that they're about the size of one of our self-checkout machines. Or so.
Okay.
They're much smaller in
Yeah,
comparison.
yeah.
Like a mailbox at a post office.
Okay, any more questions?
Thanks, Penny.
All right, thank you, Penny. Thanks, Lorraine.
Yeah.
All right, next up, Chairman's report. Laura, are you able to?
Let's see, we need to have Lorraine talk about.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was my bad. Go ahead, Lorraine.
Okay. So work continues. We're actually, Penny is bringing to the board to close out Liberty and South Hill today. So we're closing out their main contracts. We are still doing some work out there, like we talked about the book drop and the mini split. So there is still some work going, but the main construction contract is closing out for those jobs. And just FYI, we will be adding a mini split at Shadle too. So that's going to be in the works soon. We are also doing those kind of things and some last minute supply item things at downtown Central. So it's open and running, but there are things that Walker Construction is still working on to get the building, in the shape that the library wants to use and with features. So things are happening there. And then for Indian Trail and South Hill, as Penny said, there have been some unforeseen things. Probably the main one is the hydronic piping system. It was an existing system at South Hill, and the designers thought we could just go put in new mechanical equipment and just pipe to the nearest valve. But as we got into it, we found that the existing piping system was not a great system. It was a very thin-walled piping system that was kind of at the end of its life. And we looked at it and evaluated, do we want to test it? Do we want to see? We found some leaks as we were doing demo and did some diligence to see what would be the best for the library in the future, and could we just, replace part of it? But after analysis by the mechanical engineers and the plumber, we really decided that, we don't want to risk all your brand new finishes and new walls and all that, and have this old piping system that we're just not sure how long it's going to last. So we, the library made the decision. It makes more sense to delay the project and stop and take out all this old icky piping and put in the new stuff. And so they're about halfway through that now at South Hill. They were just testing the south side of the building with the new piping this morning. So it's moving on, but it was a significant expense and delay to the project, but it is definitely the safe way to go. And, you've got a building that, you're not going to have the risk of possibly having problems in the future. And, we've just had other things come up. And so, unfortunately, remodels are always, you discover things you didn't know about, and then we're, adding all the phase one changes in there. So unfortunately, we've used more contingency than we like, but, that's what it's for. We know in remodels, you're gonna have those things. So we've encountered them all, and I think we're really on the downhill side. I think we're over the hump there. They're finishing up Indian Trail. It'll be finished, late November now, early December, and South Hill will go into January. But we're back to putting the buildings together again. So, any questions?
Okay, thanks, Lorian.
Sure.
All right, next up is the chairman report. Laura, do you have anything to add?
I don't have a chairman's report this time.
Then it's the executive director report. There is a written report. Andrew, do you have anything to add to the written report?
Just go over a couple of the highlights. We ended up hosting the Public Library Directors of Washington Fall meeting at Central. It was a request from the group to check out the space, which was an honor for us. So we had about 35 folks show up for the meeting from across the state. It was our first meeting in over 2 years. Folks were really impressed and inspired by what we've done here. in Spokane for our libraries. So that was a feel-good moment personally for me to have and share at least the central library with folks. We also toured the Hive for folks that were interested. I believe that same week, the Secretary of State, who the state librarian reports that to, contacted us and requested a tour of the central library as well. And one of the comments that he had that really stood out was, wow, we should get other library trustees coming to Spokane to see how to get it done. So congratulations for setting the example to the trustees on these projects. We also received 2 more awards for the Hive in September. I'm not sure if I mentioned this last month, same day. So Amanda traveled to Seattle to accept one, and I accepted one here locally. One was an honor award for excellence in masonry for the Hive, and the other was a merit recognition from the Washington Civic Design Awards architectural group. So we might expect more coming. Really, the only facilities that have been shopped around for these awards has really been the Hive and somewhat Liberty Park, but the architects will be putting these out for review in the next year or so. So really good to get that recognition for the facility. Recruitment does continue for the Board of Trustees. We've gotten some great applications in, hoping to review those and interview in the next month or so and make a recommendation to the mayor. Spokane is Reading author event is next week. This is the collaboration with Spokane County Library District, Spokane Public Library, and Annie's Bookstore, and supported by all the friends of the libraries. Thank you to them. This month's selection is this year's selection is the Book of Difficult Fruit by Kate Lebo. She is a local author and also just won the Washington State Book Award. In other news of interest, we have been focusing on providing more service to increase in Ukrainian speaking customers in Spokane. So we're starting to focus on our digital collection as well as our imprint collection for Ukrainian speakers. As well as we received some ARPA dollars from the state library, about what, 60,000? Yeah, $60,000. So we're actually going to be taking those and investing in digital materials for Spanish language, Vietnamese, Russian, Ukrainian, Arabic, Marshallese, and Chinese materials, language materials. It's not something that we have really invested in before, so this would be a great trial to see what the appetite for those resources are. Our star of the month this month went to Molly Coffey. She's in our support services department. As we were opening the middle school libraries, Flat and Yasuhara, it became apparent that they weren't tagged with RFID tags. And Molly went above and beyond, gathered some SPL staff, delayed her vacation, and they personally tagged these items for opening day. So a really awesome effort on her part and everyone else that helped out. I continue to hold mobile office hours at the branches for staff to come in. Those have been a really great way for me to connect in person with staff. And I look to continue to do those. And lastly, the mayor submitted her preliminary budget to City Council at the beginning of October. No surprises as far as the library is concerned. Her final programmatic budget will be submitted, I believe, the first week of November. So we're going to continue to monitor that and hope for the support that we're looking for. Any questions for me?
I'd just like to congratulate Molly Coffey and ask if you gave her vacation.
I believe she ended up taking vacation. Yes. But, you know, it's these partnerships are really important to both organizations, and I think the staff stepping up like that really shows and shines through.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yep.
I do not see our council liaison online. Is he there in person?
No.
Okay, and there's no written report. So the next item is our communications department report.
Hi, everyone. So, light report for you today. One thing that we've been doing lately is increasing our internal communication. We've been sending monthly staff emails for several years now. But so much is going on. Those emails were getting very long and unwieldy. So we're breaking those up into 4 times a week now. And so that's going to give us a lot more opportunity to communicate with staff internally. Our department is beginning our strategic planning for 2023. So we're starting to meet and talk about what types of things we want to accomplish. Even though it's just October, we're kind of winding down the year and looking ahead to next year. One of our most popular blog posts this past month was our Indigenous Peoples Day blog post and book list. And you can still see that on our website. On social media, we're still seeing a little bit of a decline in engagement from the big peak that we had in July for the central opening. So we're kind of riding the coattails of that into August. We're having normal engagement. It was just that July was so high, now it looks lower. And then on earned media, we had a really great month for earned media. With Indigenous Peoples Day coverage, as well as a lot of coverage of the program that we did with Shane, our new current event specialist, who did a conversation with Kimber Glidden from Boundary County Library. So that was a really cool program he pulled together very quickly after she resigned from pressure in her community for challenging books. And we got a lot of great coverage on that. And that was also live streamed and is recorded on our YouTube channel if you missed it and want to take a look at that. And that concludes my report. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Great. All right, next on our agenda is new business, a capital bond fund amendment to Hill International Consultant Agreement. Penny?
Yes, thank you. So here's our request for approval to increase the Hill contract by $190,000. Just a little bit to know about Hill International. They bill each month based on actual hours consumed. And our phase 1 projects are still have ongoing work going along, and we have quite a bit of work still underway with our furniture and fixtures from phase 1, including punch lists and some corrective action that we have on our metal shelving. The phase 2 projects, which we've talked a lot about tonight, they are requiring quite a bit more work than was originally anticipated. For example, Hill had expected to have meetings twice a month, but the projects were moving much too quickly, and it was felt by the SPL team that we needed weekly representation so that we could catch things like before a wall gets closed up, if our staff could see that something was missed in design or in some way in the drawings. So Hill has continued to support us and has basically exhausted the amounts that we've had on the books so far. We have ahead of us the installations of the 24/7 kiosks. This amendment would include the project management for 3 of those. It does not contain the values that may be needed for the 4th one because we do not have a designated location. So as I come to you tonight for an amendment approval, know that we probably will have another one coming a little later on. Let's see, I would expect that we have $202,000 remaining in our project management budget right now. So that will fund this $190,000. Once we know the cost for the 4th kiosk installation, we'll have a little bit of budget left, but we've also got our interest. And I expect that we'll have some leftover remaining budget in our phase one projects that we could tap if needed. Mike Piccolo has reviewed and approved this amendment, and I am open for any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Penny?
I do have a question. When these went out to bid, where did Hill come in on the projected costs?
Well, are you meaning the Hill contract itself?
I assume that there was a bid process, if I remember correctly.
Actually, the project management is not a bid process. It's required to be a request for qualifications. And so it's the same way in architects. We're not allowed to do a bid process like we would on a construction job. So we put out the qualifications request, and then those folks that respond to that, they're scored by an SPL team to do that. They, at that time, produce an estimated cost per hour based on the position that's doing the work.
Thank you. I understand now.
Okay, if there's no other questions, do I have a motion to amend the Hill consultation agreement, Hill International Consultant Agreement?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the Hill International Consultant Agreement amendment has been passed. And please excuse me, I do need to step out. Jim, are you available to chair the rest of the meeting? Okay, thanks everybody. Have a great rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.
Casey.
The next item is the Capital Bond Fund final acceptance, Liberty Park and the Hive, and it's Penny again.
Yes, and this is another milestone. It's our second time that we've been able to bring a contract to the board to grant final acceptance. We did this process with Shadle and Garco, and it's a bit of a celebration in my opinion. So this means that Leone and Keeble has completed their construction and provided all of the construction certificates required in the contract. And I've included in your packets the correspondence that kind of lists out what those items were that they provided to us. Also in your packet, you're going to find a letter from Integris for both of those contracts, recommending that we grant final completion as they've certified these two projects to be complete. Once we get board approval to have final acceptance of these projects, that initiates the process of closure with the state. So that will mean tomorrow I release final payment to Leone and Keeble, and I make requests to the 3 state agencies, Employment Security Department, Department of Revenue, and Labor and Industries, to issue closure of the projects. So with that, I'm open for questions. If not, we ask that the board grant final acceptance of the Liberty Park and the Hive Public Works projects, both constructed by Leone and Keeble.
Any questions? Motion?
Well, let's see how I'm supposed to say this. I am happy to make a motion. Grant final acceptance of the Liberty Park and Hive Public Works projects, both constructed by Leone and Keeble Incorporated. And congratulations. That's my motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Is this the part where we celebrate then? On the agenda is the customer code of conduct policy update, and that's Karis.
Yeah, so last month we brought to you a proposed amendment to the customer code of conduct that the board had apparently some lively discussion in my absence, looking for a more plainly stated version of what we were trying to go for. And so what you have in front of you now is our attempt to do that. And so what we're opting to replace, we're trying to strike the item that says using restrooms for personal grooming, such as hair dyeing, brushing teeth, doing laundry, or changing clothes, or other intended purposes. We're trying to change it to using restrooms in an unsafe or disruptive way, including but not limited to loitering, vandalism, and illegal drug use. So this is focusing more on the behaviors that we're trying to limit in the bathroom and less on trying to police grooming habits, which can be disruptive but don't necessarily need to be. So this is the wording that we've come up with for now. I do want to throw out there too that we're doing some more looking at the customer code of conduct, specifically with Bataya and our welcome team. Part of her social services group of students have taken it on as a class project to look at our customer code of conduct and make some recommendations for how we might want to pursue going forward. So I anticipate coming back to the board for some changes in the future as well. But I hope that this modification meets your direction for now.
Is that,
I wasn't here to argue, so
oh,
I'm sorry I missed out on that.
Very engaging discussion. I would
Yeah.
say. Mostly with myself. Yeah, I think is a deliberative process over the policy as a whole, I think would be helpful. I think it's, solve the problem for the time being.
do you,
I make a motion.
is that wording meet your?
It's satisfactory.
Yeah, I think this is better. I agree that this is better wording for that policy. We need a motion.
I think he did that.
Yeah.
Oh, you did. Okay, it's been moved. It's been seconded.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Teen programming overview with Gina Cooper.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gina, and I have been with the library for about 4 years now. And I work in teen services. So I get to work with teenagers all the time, and it's really a fun place to be. And I wanted to kind of share with you what we're doing and what we're working on right now and what we've been doing this summer. So first I want to talk about why teen programming is so important. I believe it's really important just for them to have fun and to enjoy being at the library. And sometimes it's without having the element of fun, it's hard to get teens in the library. They've been doing school all day long. And, we want to make it fun, want them to have, to want to come and join us here. I also want it to be a place where they can meet new friends. Some of the most rewarding experiences I've had in working with teens is when they, in front of me, are like, exchanging cell phone numbers or asking what's your gamer tag, and they've made a new friendship because of the library. And it's also really important that the library is a safe place for them to hang out. I don't think there are that many spaces that exist for teens, and I want the library to be that space, at least for some of them in our community. And when they're here, it's a gateway to more library services. So whenever I can, say we're doing anime club, I let them know, did you know that we have the whole manga series at the library you can check out? Or if they just mention an interest in club, hey, we have tons of books on that. So it's more of a gateway to, feeling comfortable in the library and feeling like it's their space too. And then, of course, you learn all kinds of different things in our programs, like, working on their communication, social skills, so important as a teenager, and building confidence, working as a team, learning new skills, and then being introduced to new technologies and ideas. Switch the slide.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. So first I want to tell you a little bit about what we did this summer. So this summer was a big deal because it was kind of our first real back in the library kind of in-person programming. For teens, we did escape rooms and we had a lot of participants. We had 73 people participate in our escape rooms, and we did them both in July and August. We did 3 Nerf Wars programs, and there were 29 participants in that, and I made a big old mess in the library after hours. So we, after the library was closed, they were able to take their Nerf guns and just, run around and have a lot of fun in the library, and that was great. And then we continued, we usually keep doing Dungeons and Dragons. It's sort of like an ongoing story and program that they participate in, so we kept that going through the summer. And I just wanted to let you know, if you didn't know, along with the communications team, Youth Services also has a teen magazine. Children's have their own magazine, but we have one just for teens and just for their interests. So it has articles and activities and book recommendations that we have. This is the second year we've done it. So, and that's been great. So now we're moving into fall, and this is kind of the lineup we have right now. So I advocated pretty heavily for doing regular programs at libraries. That's very specific libraries. So we have weekly at Hilliard, weekly at Liberty Park, and weekly at Shadle. And the whole strategy there is to really build community, get the same kids coming back, get them, familiar with each other, familiar with me, familiar with those branches. And so far it's been turning out really good. At this library in particular, Hilliard, this room is so busy with there was 30 kids a couple weeks ago for the VR program, and it's just a lot of fun. It's great to see, big full groups of teens in our libraries. But at Hilliard and Liberty Park, we're kind of rotating these sort of different programs, but they happen roughly once a month. We have a teen yarn group program, which is where we all kind of hang out. We have cookies and hot cocoa, and we knit and crochet and make little things. I have a picture on one of the later slides of we have these little crochet kits with everything they need in it to get started and learn how, or they can bring their own projects, and it's been a lot of fun so far. We're doing Anime Club, where we watch anime together, and we do a different activity. I also have a picture on one of the later slides of some of the activities we're doing. We have 4 great virtual reality headsets, and the kids have a blast with those, trying out a new technology, getting their hands on something that is inaccessible for many people, if not most people in the Spokane area. So it's really a great opportunity for them to kind of figure out how it works, especially that virtual reality would probably become more and more important in the future. And then the last program on that list was our Game On program. That program is just kind of a gaming and hangout sort of program, but I again see those kids every week. They're hanging out, they're getting to know one another and having a cool place to hang out with their friends. That program, it was pretty funny. I was hanging out here and trying to coax them into the program, and I told them popcorn and video games, and the kids were like, "What's the catch?" No catch, just go hang out and have a good time. And that's what I want to hear. I want to hear that they like it so much they think that they have to do something, or so it was pretty fun. And then we have weekly Dungeons and Dragons at the Shadle Park Library. I was doing these every other week, but those kids bullied me into once a week because they like it so much. And that's a program that is probably going to continue to grow. We had several programs this summer where there was one table and 13 kids at one table. And I don't know if you've ever played Dungeons and Dragons, but ideal is about 4 to 6. So 13 is a lot. But it's great to see that there's that much interest and excitement about some of our teen programs. And so I just wanted to just use this slide to kind of let you all know that some of the things I'm looking at next are expanding the Dungeons and Dragons program, because it's so popular that we'll probably have a table 1, table 2, so there'll be up to 8 people at each table allowed to come and play, and it won't get too overwhelming with 13, which was fairly manageable, but still fun, I guess. And then, you know, I hope to see more of the teens take more leadership roles in these programs as we move forward, as they become more familiar with just the setting of the library and the kids in the programs with them, that maybe they will want to run a session, or maybe they'll want to come help me set up all the game equipment, or different things like that, maybe become a teen volunteer. Something I didn't mention on the last slide that I wanted to also share that we're doing for teen programming is we have a active Minecraft server for teenagers, and we have an active Discord server for teenagers. And if you're not sure what a Discord server is, or you're not familiar, it's sort of like a chat server with a bunch of different channels like cooking or art or library programs or different things like that. But we get to make sure that it's all teens on that server, it's monitored, and it's a safe online space that we can talk to them about library services, they can share their interests. And I even got in trouble last week because I forgot to remind the kids that D&D was tomorrow, and one kid said I was nervous it wasn't going to happen because you didn't remind me. So it's kind of great to see that they're using it and we can have access to that teen community, which is sometimes very hard to be able to reach out to. So yeah, so that's all I really had, but I want to share some pictures. This is like just a little picture of our one of the insides of our kits. There's instructions on it that kind of in the little bag that shows you exactly how to do it, has the pattern on it, all the things you'll need to create like a little stuffed animal crochet object. And then these are some perler beads things. The kids actually made those. They turned out really great. Some characters from a popular anime series that they chose. And then the next slide has just, I don't have as many as I'd like. I haven't had that much time and I didn't take as many pictures, but this is proof that we have teams in the library and they look like they're having fun. So the first two are Nerf Wars at Liberty Park, and this is our Game on Gaming program. And that's all I had. So if you have any questions at all.
How do you do the escape room?
The escape room, I make it myself. So I start off with some like the key. It can be, it's not a real key because we don't lock the kids in the library, but we start off with a key, and usually you have to open a box with 4 locks on it to get the key to get out of the room. So basically there's several different clues that lead to opening those. And I choose a different scenario every time. I've done things like trapped on a space station or stuck in the creepy attic or different things like that. And they have to solve the clues to get out.
Do you use the whole library or just a meeting room?
Just a program room.
Okay.
So, and we'll have props and things hidden around the room, and they have to work in small groups, and that's another opportunity for them to kind of learn to think as a team and problem solve together.
Excellent. That sounds a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you.
Are you gonna do an escape room at staff day?
I am. I'm doing a D&D escape room at staff day.
Nice.
So.
That brings us to the end of our agenda. I believe. No public comments. Our next regular meeting is Tuesday, November 15th at Shadle Park. There is no executive session and we are adjourned.